Welcome to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ, where Generation X and Millennial talk about restoration, the Edge version 3, and the world.
Welcome, everybody. We are here today. I'm here with TJ, and we are joined by Greg Dillon, the godfather of time and materials. And I could not be more thrilled to talk to Greg. I don't know why it's taken this long for this to happen. I'm very excited. We've worked with Greg for now over 10 years, and he's going to be a guest speaker at our 10-year anniversary class here in December, here at Cape Canaveral. I cannot wait. That's going to be an awesome class. So Greg, we always start out with something fun, exciting, or awesome that is going on in your life that may or may not be related to work. It doesn't have to be. I know most of my stuff it's all intertwined. Yeah. And so at this point in my life. And so tell us, what's going on in your world?
Tom, it's I've got an interesting world right now. So between personal and business, but I have to say this, it's so good to be back on the T&M side of it, working with the contractors. And a lot of things have happened. We got AI going into it, but making the decision to go back was not tough. I was away for about 5 years, and I learned a lot. I had the joy of watching you through Large Loss Mastery and what you have been doing and what you've done for this industry. I have to say that as well. So, but a lot of good things are going on. I've got 8 wonderful grandkids,
Wow.
and and they all live with about 2 miles of me. I don't know if that's good or bad. Sometimes it's good, but they range in the ages of 17 all the way down to 2. So it's a good range, but life has been good. It really has. The blessings have been there. The ability to go out and do some more travel and speak at some of these conferences have been fantastic. You mentioned yours in December. I can't wait till December. That's 10 years going back. I used to love these classes that you had and to be able to participate in them. So man, I could sit here all day and tell you the good things that are happening, and I'm all excited about it. So, yeah.
Well, good. Papa Uber. Yeah. Do you have an Uber rate?
Oh,
Because I know being that close to the kids, you're Papa Uber.
Papa Uber is, yeah. I mean, yeah. Let me put it to you this way: they know how to FaceTime me, they know how to call me, and it continues happening until I answer. I'll put it to you this way. So, I put a pool in about 3 years ago. Oh my gosh, would I put another one in? No.
Well, the problem is you get to take care of the pool.
Oh yeah.
Everybody else gets to enjoy the pool.
Yes. And the biggest problem with that, Tom, when they asked me if I would put a pool in, they all promised me one thing. Mm-hmm. If you put it in, we'll vacuum it, we'll clean it. And I've told them now, hey, it's been there for 3 years and there's not one guy doing the vacuuming. It's the same guy that put it in. So, but I love watching them swim. I mean, it's, it puts the whole family together and you can't beat that.
Yep.
That's the one thing about pools and they're, for children, for kids. I mean, it's like the greatest thing that there could possibly be.
Yeah.
And, you just got to keep them safe, make sure, everybody knows the rules. Make sure that, everybody's staying by them so no one gets hurt, that type of thing. But yeah, it's a good babysitter and it keeps them all right there.
right there inside the fence or the wall, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah. Well, very, very good. Congratulations with the grandbabies and being that close to them because,
oh, absolutely.
It's so important, with family. I know I'm going to, my mom's 96 or actually 97. Wow. She just turned 97 last month.
That's remarkable.
And that's where I'm going to be on the 4th of July because they're in North Dakota up in Fargo. And it's a war zone up in North Dakota on the 4th of July. I mean, literally,
Oh, I bet.
it's like the end of the world type of stuff. And so I like it because I don't have to spend any money on fireworks, and hopefully I won't give in to my urge to do that because
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a firework freak. So,
We're gonna have some at the 10-year, Tom? Possibly?
um,
Maybe.
yeah, they're probably yeah. I'm trying to get this part of the at the 10-year. We're planning a little beach deal,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I've got to figure all of that, and that's where we would do it. Um, it's not legal, but then that's I've never asked for permission before, so
With NASA, SpaceX, and
yeah. I mean, it's it'll be what it'll be, and so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm yeah.
Did they schedule a rocket launch around this time?
There usually is. We usually have at least one. And the way
Oh,
that
wow.
the way that it works is the season kind of they're missing their schedule a little bit because
Yeah.
rockets go up on time sometimes and sometimes they don't. And so they have to get them in at the end of the year. And so there's been a couple times we had like three
Oh,
in
wow.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I went to Cape Canaveral to catch a cruise. And while we were there staying at the hotel the night before, they had a rocket launch.
Yeah.
So here's my first one, right? Well, the restaurant we ate at, I looked across the bay and there stood SpaceX on a barge. And then but anyway, we come out of the hotel. We were between two buildings. A beautiful launch.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know was the sonic boom coming back. Of course, it ricocheted off those buildings, and that was an experience. So, yeah, it was really cool though to watch that rocket. I mean, it just turned into daylight all of a sudden.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
You'll it never gets old either because
Yeah.
it's like it's like you're shooting something into space, and so
Right.
and so TJ, what's happening in your world, brother?
well, on Monday, I saw Greg last week at the CDR event. That was awesome. Got to meet a ton of amazing restorers, industrial hygienists. I mean, just some of the industry's best people, down there from an independent standpoint. And that was
Yeah.
huge for me. But I came back after the weekend and I host a nonprofit event for a local children's home.
Oh, wow.
And I run an event every year and I fundraise, I raise boat drivers, recruit boat dealerships, and we take about 50 kids out on the lake for the day and just show them the best day they've ever had.
Mhm.
And
That's
you talk about family and getting that time in. These kids don't have family. Like their family is each other. They live on this ranch. They go to school there,
Wow.
graduate, and try to be set up for success in life because they come from very rough situations. So they get to spend the day on a $250,000 wakeboard boat, learning how to surf and tube. And I wish I could just show you some of the smiles on their faces and how much
Yeah.
fun they had. So coming back after a work event and getting to spend my Monday on the lake with those kids was very humbling, and like that's my passion project, and it was just amazing. Couldn't have gone better.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. I mean, that gave me cold chills when you said that, man.
Dude, it was
Yeah.
incredible. I had 12 boats, a couple boat dealerships, each brought two.
Wow.
We raised about $15,000, and after insurance and getting them t-shirts and stuff, we'll be able to give 10 of that back to the ranch to, use for those kids.
That goes a long ways. Goes a long ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great.
Well, and T, one of the things too, with kids and what we were talking about fireworks just a little while ago, and we used to do a big fireworks show on 11th Street. We had a family condo that we have there, and there would be kids that would come up, after the show, and they'd be like, "This was the greatest 4th of July ever," and you just knew, in my mind. All of a sudden, I was just thinking, wow, we just, didn't even intend to have that impression on that child, or on, even the teenagers, children, whatever, that will last for a lifetime. And so it's
Yep.
really cool when you see that smile, and you see
Yeah.
that wow, that they will remember that moment all of their life.
Man, that's
I had kids that were
fantastic.
crying and giving me a hug, you know what I
Wow.
mean? Because of how much fun they had that day. Kids, some of them couldn't even swim, and we taught them how to swim that day. Like that was the goal. We're going to teach you how
Wow.
to swim.
Wow.
Wow.
And, it was
That's,
amazing. It
man,
brings you back down, it grounds you real quick.
yes. Yeah.
You think you
Man,
have problems, going on in your business, and those go away real quick.
reality hits quick. Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
fantastic, man. Thank you for doing that.
yeah, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
That
That's
is,
awesome.
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Because, it's so important to remember that, no matter what we have going on in our lives, there's always somebody that's got it better, but there's
Yep.
always somebody that's got it worse,
Yes.
no matter what.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So my fun and exciting thing is that you can see that I have really short hair now, and I'm kind of getting used to it a little bit. I'm looking at myself here on the screen, going, I don't know. It's real easy to take care of, but Donna went in. She had her bone marrow transplant on the 11th, and so that's her second birthday. And so she has two DNAs now. One DNA that will be in her blood, that's of her donor, and then the DNA of her internal organs will be her original DNA. And so I thought that was just really interesting when I was reading about it. I was like, dang, that's actually really pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, but she's going through a lot right now. She's in, this is the painful part of which where after the transplant, they're still doing chemo because they do a big blast of chemo for about 3 days, 4 days, and that kills the bone marrow. But you would never know it. And so she's been a champ with the whole thing. Um, and so right now the two DNAs are fighting against each other because, you got all that,
Mhm.
white blood cells, red blood cells, all that stuff in survival of the body. And so, so she's going through that right now. So when she is in this period is kind of where she will lose her hair. And so I had to convince her to cut her hair. And Greg, I don't know if you've ever met Donna, but
I have. Yes.
her hair was big and bushy,
Yeah.
and 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 I had to convince her to cut it off. And so it was the Thursday before the transplant, before we went in to start the process, and because she wasn't going to be coming back out of the hospital, until the end of June before she comes out of the hospital, and then she goes into the other facility by the hospital for 100 days. And so it was like, it was now or never. And so I was like, okay, so how am I going to do this? And so I went to Supercuts, or not Supercuts, but Sport Clips, and they did a good job.
Mhm.
And so um, uh, and so I got out, picked her up, and she wasn't feeling real good, and she didn't really want to do anything. I was like, this is your last day before you go into the hospital, and before all this crap starts. You got to get out. We got to get out and do something. Go get dinner or lunch or something or whatever we're going to do. And I said, and you got, because you got to get your hair cut too, because she doesn't want to do it while she was in the hospital, going through everything, and then you're cutting your hair too. And she was like, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. And I took my hat off and I said, well, we're going to go get your hair cut. And she laughed, and she got her hair cut. She looks fantastic. It's really a shortcut, and so that was my fun and exciting thing over the last couple of weeks for me is just the little things, like you're talking to you. It's just those little things that life catches up with you with a lot of all the stuff, cancer,
Yeah.
and all the not, all the things that we have to think about but don't want to think about, and then all the things that we have to go through but we don't want to go
Right.
through. And so, but welcome, guys. I am very happy to be here. And so, Greg, what we're going to do, we're going to start out with get us caught up on T&M Plus
Okay.
and what's happening in the T&M Plus world, and where you're at, where it's going, what's up.
Okay, I'd be happy to. We have TM Plus Manager. What I did, Tom, as well as I do, in our environment of the property loss, TNM can be very complex, right?
Mhm.
So there's a couple ways to manage it. And what I did is I created TM Plus. It's a cloud-based system. We have TM Plus Manager, which is the hub of the system, which allows all the other components to communicate directly with it. The reason that I wanted to do that is because I want everybody involved that's involved in that project, or what we call stakeholders,
Yeah.
to be able to see it live, to be able to see what's going on. So that's exactly what we did. So we are now fully launched with TM Plus. Obviously, like any other software program, we get, a client calls and says, "What about this or what about that?" We obviously take it to R&D, and if it's viable, we add it to the program, right?
Yep.
So software is always live. You're never complete. You're never finished. So we've got TM Plus Manager out plus TM Plus Bill, which is the billing side of the program. Then we have our field sheets as well, which, you hear people say, let's do digital, let's do standard. So I said, you know what? Why can't we just do both?
Mhm.
Why can't we just have the full option? And we do. We have three options. So that is now established. We are working with a lot. We just did a major upgrade that we released last week to allow us to build the platform that we're looking for, with the AI components and everything else that we're working on right now. So, but we're very excited about it, the way that it processes TNM. I'm a firm believer that software should support and signed agreements should govern. That should be your control point,
Yep.
not your software. Your software is going to take that control point, it's going to process it through some algorithms, and it's going to give you a deliverable result that you want to line up to those signed agreements. So
Mhm.
that's exactly where we're at. Been very surprised, of the early attention that we got with TM Plus,
Mhm.
and we're working with some really great clients right now. So, I'm very excited about the future of it and what it offers to the users, and what it offers to the industry, and more importantly, what it offers to their client, because that's what we know. I mean, it's very important. I also built a TNC builder as well. That TNC builder is live. It allows you to have full negotiations up front with your client. You can go ahead and make the changes right there, and then click a button, and you have your completed TNC, so they can go ahead and sign it into the agreement. So that's where we're at. We're working every single day. We've got a great team. I got real fortunate to get a good AI person that has a lot of history with AI. AI is changing every single day. It's not that we're going to go in there. My thing is and TJ, I appreciate, at CDR, people thought I was going to get up there and speak about TM Plus, right? I mean, I had the perfect opportunity, had a great audience in front of me, but you know what? I advocate for fairness and transparency within this industry, and I did a bill review that was reviewed by AI, and I pivoted 2 days before the conference, and I said, you know what? TN Plus will sell itself. Let me get up here and let's talk about the AI and bill reviews and what's happening.
Yep.
So, and that's exactly what I did. I put the industry first always. Did I plug TN Plus? Yeah, absolutely, because
This
that's
is
what we
small.
built it for, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we were able to articulate a message back to the audience that says, "Hey, this is happening. It's live, and this is what you got to look for." And we're building a tool for that as well. So,
Yeah.
that's that educational part, right? Where you're going, I think I'm close to being finished. And then you get something, you go, oh man, now I got to build a tool for that. So, but it's happening. I mean, I'm excited about it, Tom, and with the edge as well. You and I have talked many, many times, and we're going to make it happen. Man, I'm just excited for the future.
No, it's, and you and I, we're in the commercial world. And so it's always been, time and materials. And so for
Right.
me, it's the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
It's the most clear, it's easy for the client to understand. It's easy for them to follow the picture all the way through. It doesn't get convoluted with too much.
Right.
And, because a lot of times what happens now is we try to just overwhelm sometimes
Mm-hmm.
with stuff, thinking that is a good thing. People just want to see what your bill was, what what backs it up. Is it to the contract? Is it to the scope? Boom.
Right.
Let's pay the bill.
Let's pay the bill. Absolutely.
And I know, T, you've been doing a lot of stuff, with time and materials, and on all levels, on residential and commercial, and not, for me, I haven't done that many. Like I've said before, 35 residential projects in my life, and all those were my neighbors during hurricanes, and so but I always use time and materials. And when the adjuster would ask me, "Are you going to put it in Xactimate?" I mean, no, we do time and materials, and here's how we're going to back it up. You got to give them, take them down that road. Here's what it's going to be. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's, you're going to be satisfied when you see it. And they always are. They always are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing that, I always tell people when we talk about T&M, and the way that I like to explain it is that, we create the story, right? And the bill is the final chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So we're creating the story, we're creating chapter after chapter, but we get to that final chapter, and that's when we put it all together, right? The bill becomes that final chapter, and all the other chapters that are behind it is what supports that final chapter.
Yep.
So, that's the best way to explain it. And, that I have found, but you're right, Tom, it's from A to Z.
Well, in that last chapter sometimes can make or break a book.
100%. Exactly. That's why I always say, let's put some test chapters in there and do some progressive billing.
It was exactly exactly. So you're not dropping it on them, and they're going, man, this was a good story until that last chapter.
Yeah.
T, what's your experience? I know you do a lot with residential and time and materials. What's happening in your world that way, in that direction?
Well, I mean, for me, it's the most ethical way to bill, because it's, if you do it right and you execute it properly, it is the most truthful way of billing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're only billing for what gets done, what gets used. Yep. So if you do it right in the ethical way, like you said, it helps your client understand that, especially a residential client that's never been through a claim or doesn't know what Xactimate is, that it even exists, or what the insurance company's doing. They can actually understand time and materials.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And, that's the biggest difference for me is onboarding our clients and educating them and walking them through, the journey. Like you say, Tom, here's what it looks like today. It's going to look better tomorrow. But the time and materials, especially as you show them during the job, what your burn is and where you're at on the project. And if your ops teams are really good, you're coming in below budget a lot of the time. So, to me, it's the most ethical way to do business.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and if you're doing your periodic billing too, you're bringing everybody along on that journey, and they can see that, okay, we're in the right hands, we're with the right company, we're with the right guys. They've got us, they've got our best interests, they've got all of our priorities. Mm-hmm. Included in the scope, included in everything that we're doing, and they can see it, right. And that just goes a long way, and sometimes we try to overwhelm with too much, video and pictures are all great, and that it should all be done, but not, don't overwhelm. You don't have to create, a 2-hour video of right. the project, it's like, because people, their attention isn't going to be there to look at everything anyway. So you can have that on in a side little, storage. But with the invoice, make sure you have all the pertinent information that is required to back up that invoice. And so but I do like the name, the TNM Plus, because I think I told you when we were at HICO, I thought that was Tom McGuire Plus. I was like, yeah, I like it.
That's exactly what it was, Tom.
You just had to one up me.
I had to put the plus on the end of it, man. Yeah, I like that. That's good. That was good. That was good. Good thinking, Tom. But yeah, love that.
So Greg, I know I haven't had the chance to demo the system yet. What kind of features, for example, for field staff, is there a mobile app on their phone?
There is. I mean, so you've got, I open the door to all options, right? So, and I don't know if Tom will agree with me on this or not, and I'm fine with that. I'm not a fan of a phone for TNM. I am for the which you can use it, but having it in the crew's hand, I'd much rather have a tablet at that point. Now I'm not talking about going and writing a scope. I'm not talking about going and I'm talking about the actual crew themselves. And because in our world, especially if you use a lot of temp labor, a lot of your data can go away from you if you're not careful. But there's also, based on the technology that we have today, there's a lot of privacy laws out there. There's more and more states that are stating to say, hey, if you're going to use they're going to use their own device. Some states require compensation, some require consent. So I always try to refocus back to a tablet. But to answer your question, yes, we have for the phone, we have tablet. You can do it the standard way as well. So, not everybody's getting away from pen and paper, and that's fine. Some are doing pen and paper in the field and transferring it back to digital. That's fine as well. But, there's just a lot of different options. And I leave it up to the contractor. I'm not one to say this is the best one to use. And if you use this, I read some things sometimes that says, if you use this, you'll get paid faster. They don't, I'm going, well, they don't understand TNM because there's a lot more to it than just using this to get paid faster, right? What about all the other components that go with it? You didn't do this right, or you didn't line up to your contract, or you didn't line to this, or you didn't do this, those are going to slow down payment, regardless of what app you use. And so, I'm very careful. Like I said, advocate for fairness and transparency, but give the control back to the contractor. It's their project, it's their job, it's their client. And all I want to do is be able to support that.
Well, right now we're in the middle of a generational transfer, right?
Right.
There's guys like me that are coming up in the industry, like, Mike in Oklahoma. We're younger, we're in our 30s, and we love technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have Kevin on my team. He wants all paper TNM,
right?
And that's a gap that I'm glad you're addressing.
Yeah, it is a gap, and but it satisfies both, right?
Yeah.
I always tell people that you get some that you're just not going to get them out of their comfort zone, and trying to get them out of their comfort zone creates risk for you. Right. So let them stay within their comfort zone, and then we can take that and transfer it over. So technology today makes that very simple. It's a very simple transition over. So I just said, you know what, let's just give it all to them,
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. I'm a tablet laptop guy.
Mm-hmm.
The screen, it's too small.
Yeah.
So, but there are some inputs that you can do on your phone. Some labor inputs, some equipment usage, things like that. They can do that. But the overall, if you're doing the overall auditing of the project, then you're going to be on the
right. And I agree with you, Tom. I mean, even getting to where if you got multiple devices, they all sync to one, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many options out there that you can do, but yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I love it, and for me, Greg, I know we just celebrated our 40th year in
Hmm.
restoration, and to me, it does not seem like that.
No.
And it's like it goes by so quickly and everything, and so I love what's happening right now. There's a lot of things that we don't know what the final outcome
Hmm.
is going to be,
Hmm.
which is kind of life in general. But
Right.
um, Greg, where do you see? Because you brushed on AI and scrubbing uh, invoices and
Um,
going through invoices. So what have you seen, out there that from a restoration standpoint, what you're seeing in the field?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you asked that question, and TJ will tell you that's what I spoke about last week. I did do an example, and the reason I call it an example because I changed the numbers because I said, I don't want to get in front of 50, 60, 70 people, and all of a sudden the guy that wrote this is sitting in that audience, right? So I said I've got to do some revision. But to answer your question, this is what's happening, and I've seen it twice now in the very recent weeks, not months, but weeks. And they're starting to do some bill review scrubs through using AI.
Mhm.
So, but we got to remember what AI is, right? AI is going to deliver results based on what? The instructions that you give it, right?
Yep.
So if the bill reviewer and goes in there and says, "Hey, we don't pay for this. We don't pay for this. I need you to search this. I need you to search that because we don't pay for this. We don't pay overtime here. We don't do this. We don't do." Well, guess what results are going to happen, and that's exactly in this bill that I have now, Tom. I started it out with showing a number of $578,006.22. I said, how many people would love to have that size loss?
Nice loss.
All right. How many people want to give that back? Because it was a $2.5 million loss. After the review, it was a $1.9 million loss. And it was based on, and actually it was more than that. I remember I revised the numbers. But the reason I wanted to show it is because we did a review based on AI, we using the same bill file and using the same documentation, but we asked it to review it against the terms and conditions, the contract, and the agreed price list. Then we asked it over here, trying to figure out what instructions they use, and we come really close to it. We don't pay overtime for PMs. We don't do our salary. I mean, you know the story. We don't pay for that. And the one that we gave instructions to review it to the assigned agreements, man, the results were fantastic, right? But this one over here, it almost affected every single billable category, every billable component. People don't realize when you reduce labor and you get a tool fee against that, it reduces the small tools. It reduces it's like a domino effect, right?
Yep.
So that's what we're seeing. Not to say that there are some good bill reviews out there because we proved that as well with what we did. But right now AI is really new within our industry, and it's got to learn more and more about our industry, and that's going to happen with all these companies that's using AI when all this data starts dumping into it.
Yep.
But right now it's new, and you got to be careful on what you look for. If you get the results, I put it to you this way, and this is the answer that the question I asked, and I'm still waiting on the answer. Did you review it in AI? Well, yes. Send me the instructions that you gave AI.
Well, they're not sending you those.
Nope. No, no. So, it didn't happen, obviously, but yeah.
Well, also it's knowledge base.
Right. It is knowledge
If
base.
if the knowledge base is structured in a certain manner, AI is always going to benefit the user.
Right.
All of us, whoever's
Yep.
using it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
And TJ, you were there. I think I think what I spoke on kind of hit home.
Oh yeah. There were eyes wide open and
Yeah.
jaws on the floor for sure.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but Tom, it's happening. It's happening today.
Yep.
And what you consult with a lot of contractors, which is fantastic. But what we really need to drive home is, look, right now, this industry is real vulnerable to AI,
Yep.
you know. Um, I would have the bill totally reviewed before you ever submit it to the client. You know, in that point, you at least know what you have. You know, when a contractor calls me, and I said this in class, they say, "Hey, Greg, I need you to review this $200,000 bill." I said, "Well, why do I need to review it if you know how much it is?" You know, so, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting over the next 6 months, you know, 1 year, 18
Yeah.
months as we go through it. So, you know,
Well,
but
even J.S. Held, I was talking with because we had Joe White's was
mhm,
been a guest speaker for us a few times, and their reviews go through AI,
mhm,
and they have the same issues.
mhm,
And what Joe was saying is you have to always remember that just because you got the review back doesn't mean that the end of the world has happened.
right,
That now it's about, okay, now you just have to explain it like you're talking to AI and not to a person.
right,
And so, because you can't get angry at AI. And so,
mhm,
and so,
yeah,
I mean,
so you have to, you can,
mhm,
but you have to look at it and say, all right, so what do they, what does it need? What information does it need so that, and from that, so that that logically makes sense?
right,
Because it's all based, it's logic based. And so
smart,
it's
100%,
it's always trying to figure out the most logical answer, whether
right,
it's right or wrong. And
mhm,
so everybody is going to be dealing with that. And insurance companies, they they don't like to be employers, and so they want to get rid of
right,
as many people as they can. And they've done a really good job of doing that over the last 10, 15 years. And this is like a tool probably to a lot of them from heaven.
oh
If they,
yeah,
if they can,
mhm,
figure out a system to where they can limit the amount of people that they have
mhm,
and still review invoices.
right,
What I would love to see happen is where the restorer has more control. So like it can upload the information
mhm,
and it can give a review and get paid on that review, and then you can do a
mhm,
supplement on what you're disputing, and go from there. And so at least you have the payment going. And so,
mhm,
but it's so
yeah,
new and moving so fast. I mean, throughout the whole industry. I mean, they even the big guys haven't figured out what the heck they're actually doing or how to actually make money,
right, right,
with AI.
and what we have found is now we're not only reviewing bills, but now we're reviewing, you know, the AI. So it's, you know, it hadn't saved any time on our side, but we're getting it post, right?
Yeah.
We're getting it after the fact. And, but, you know, you just touched on some things that, you know, I can't go into right now, but I can tell you this in about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, I hope, we're going to have a wonderful tool that's built for the contractor. So, you know, it's going to be inside of TM Plus. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, we have to, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, look, the contractor, I always look at it like this, and I know you do too, because you and I have had these conversations more than once. You know, our goal as a software developer and with the experience that we've had within the industry is to provide a solution,
Mhm.
right? Not just a tool, but a solution. And, you know, and I think we've both done that,
Mhm.
you know, and, but you and I, if we could take people on our 40-year journey, they would find out that that solution is not that old, you know?
Well,
So,
in our industry, it's only,
mhm,
real in all reality, it's only 45 years old.
right. That's right. Hmm.
And before that, it was, primarily, carpet cleaning,
Hmm.
and doing some cleanup. And most of the work was general contracting.
Right. And that's how I started carpet cleaning, you know, and then I got with a contractor. But, you know, my first experience with Exactimate was 1987 when it first came out. And it was in Microsoft DOS, if y'all remember that. So
Yeah.
most people won't,
I
but
do not.
it goes way back, right?
I,
So,
I remember
uh,
college with DOS, and it was like, oh God, because you had to learn how to program.
program. That's right.
Whew.
But it goes way back. I mean, but back in those days, I mean, you had great programs. It used to be fun. I mean, you could write your estimate and turn it in and go by the local, I could go by the local claims office and pick my check up, or
Yeah,
what they call it was a draft, is what they called it,
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the industry's changed. So
Those were what I call the hero days, Greg,
yeah,
where, we were heroes back
yes.
then
Hmm.
because it was new. We were saving the insurance company's money, the company
Right.
money, because
Hmm.
that was our whole sales pitch.
Yep.
You don't have to rip out and replace. We can dry it in place, and so
Hmm.
all of that stuff. And so, but then after it progressed, and bad apples, whatever
Yep.
happens, and all of a sudden now you're in a defensive position. So we went from
Right.
heroes to being,
Right.
on the defense. And so,
Right.
but not all the time, and not with,
Hmm.
not with all invoices. And I mean, we all have those projects where there's an invoice that we know that there could be some issues with, or there
Right.
could be, we know where there's a problem in the invoice, or we should,
Right.
as a restorer, we should know where our problem
Absolutely.
areas are and be ready to deal with them, when that moment happens,
Yep.
So
I agree with that. I mean,
I-
but to build on that, Tom, I can remember the re-inspector would call me and say, "Hey, I need to meet you at the project," and I'd say, "Okay," and he goes, "Tea time's at 10."
that's
Those
good
were
though.
that was a good days. Yeah, yeah. So it was really good.
But
Hmm.
and that's what most restorers today need to realize. They need to understand their invoice, so that where it's weak, where it's strong, and understand if there is any issues. That always be ready to negotiate, to go through the process, provide the information that needs to be provided. Unfortunately, with some restorers, they don't know. You know.
Right.
Well,
Mhm.
this is what I love most about Greg and his methodology is most restorers where they're really weak is their contracts and their terms and conditions, as Greg says. And I think he's doing a fantastic job of educating people on focusing on those things before they get into these situations,
Mhm.
because that dictates and drives the entire process.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's TNM. People ask, what is TNM, Greg? Well, TNM is a blended billing methodology.
Mhm.
Right? It's your flat rate, your cost plus. It's based on daily documentation and supporting documentation. And the goal is to get it into, process it, and get it to line to your contracts, TNC, and your price list. That's it sounds simple, but it can be, our industry losses are complex. You may have reinsurers, you may have scheduled policies, you may have companies out there that's got a $5 million deductible. What do we do when we get to 5 million and a dollar? It's but what I always tell people is you always start it as if the third party is going to pay for it. Period. Not your client, third party, and that way you can always understand. Tom, you hit the nail on the head. Most don't understand their own invoice. And when I gave a speak at I did it by video because I couldn't be there. But I spoke about in the RA this year, in one of the slides that I had, the biggest gap that I see within our industry is the office and the field, and it's that gap in between them. And what's so important about that, especially in TNM, there's a contract, there's a TNC, and there's a price list. If your people in the field, your leaders in the field don't know those, don't understand those, but yet they're the first line of they're the first line out in the field that's talking to everybody that comes to that project. And they have to know they have to know what the terms and conditions are. I understand some contractors just don't want to share their pricing. I get that. If you don't share your pricing, and Tom, I think you agree with me, buy the project out and give them a budget, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I mean, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, it's you know, it is it's it's a incredible business.
Hmm.
We get a chance to do some, projects in, shoot, it's unlimited, the types of facilities that we've been in, and the only reason we would have been in them was because there was a fire or there was a flood,
Hmm.
manufacturing all over the world. Um, and it's all been time and materials, and it's all been, I honestly don't know why anybody would bill any other way, but some people think when they hear time and materials, they think, oh, well, it's just whatever it is. It is what it is.
Hmm.
No, it's a time and materials contract with your rates, with your scope
Right.
of work, and your budget numbers. And so it's like,
Hmm.
here's what your ROM is. And then here's your contract. Here's when you expect to be paid, the whole nine yards. And
Hmm.
like TJ likes to say, you do the hard shit first.
Right.
You have that conversation with you onboard your client
Hmm.
where like, all right, here's what this is all about.
Right.
You and I you're my client. I am your contractor. There is a third party involved in paying. However, we're all big kids here at the table. This is what is going to be required of you and of me.
Right.
And so, but you got to have those conversations from the very beginning. And so,
Hmm.
you've done a real good job of onboarding your clients that way.
Yeah, I mean, you can't leave them in the dark.
No.
If you plan on billing them at the end, if the insurance doesn't pay and they don't know that till after the project's completely over with, you're going to have problems and
Right.
reputational risk
Yeah.
and just all kinds of issues. Like being transparent, the fact of the matter is all restorers, we all have the same equipment, we all have the same chemicals,
Hmm.
we all have the same certifications. So how do you differentiate from your competition? And it's being transparent and ethical and honest with your clients. And that's the approach we take.
Yep.
That's TJ, that's the right approach.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, by experience, but what I always tell everybody is that there's two signatures on that contract, right? And I've been doing it 40 years, Tom. Maybe you've done it. Maybe I just failed at the process, but I've yet to ever have an adjuster or an
Nope.
insurance company sign my contract, right?
Nope.
But at the end of the day, though, especially in the TNC, if people really understand their TNC, there's a disclosure in there. It's called a modification disclosure that says that no other party can make a change to this contract, except the parties that have signed it. But yet, I see it all the time where contractors are negotiating, outside without their client, and they're breaking their own contract.
Yeah.
And I tell them, I said, look, let me tell you when I really, really got successful in talking with third parties is when I had my client that I could put my arm around them because I had them there with me all the
Yep.
time. And I used to tell them, I said, look, this contract is between you and I. If you want to give me authorization to make a decision for you, we're going to do it. We're going to do it legally. And you know what? Nobody ever gave it to me because they want it's their money, and I get that, but I want it to make sure. But I said I can't make a decision without you. You can't make a decision without me. It works both ways because we're both signed that contract. And I tell contractors, I said, look, the minute you step outside of that disclosure and you start negotiating with a third party, you just open the door. I mean, you might as well take the next 43 clauses that you have within that TNC and just say, okay, what's next? Because it's going to happen. But ethical is a good word for it. If you're going to hold and be responsible and hold your client accountable, and they're going to hold you accountable, then abide by your own contract. It's yours.
Yeah.
You know, so. But that's what I see. But I mean, we're getting better at it though.
With your help.
Well, and the thing of it is always guys will get into business with people that they should not be in business with, or put themselves in a situation where they should not be. And the client also has to always, always tell them it's like, so there might be some things that the hospital didn't pay for. It's like when you go have surgery and you get a bill from the anesthesiologist or something, and your insurance didn't pay for that, but you still have to pay for it.
Still got to pay for it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so there might be some things that the insurance company might not pay for, but you still got to pay for them, and just so they're aware, and it's just really important. And again, it goes back to what you said was transparency, and being a quality, transparent company is very, very important, especially now because there's so much of everything going on, and the companies, with private equity money, and how that's not exactly transparent, and so there's a lot of effects on our industry right now. And so the independent, it's actually a great time for the independent restorer to take advantage of what's happening in our industry. So
yeah, and that's one important part of that is that, even when I deal with a third party or I'm hired as a subject matter through an attorney, right? And we have this conversation, the attorney every single time never says, yeah, let's do that. What's he say? Let me get with my client.
yep.
He's involved in that client because it's in his agreement.
Yep.
And third party, every time I talk to a third party and they ask me to do something, let me get with my client, which is who? The carrier. We all have a direct and indirect client.
Yeah.
And we have to be very careful, on how we navigate that. And that's why I'm saying, when you have the leaders in the field, that should be part of your training, on how we're going to navigate that, what our responsibilities are to our client, what our responsibilities are to the project, what your responsibilities are to the company, et cetera, right? I think we've got to do a better job at that.
Yep. I
For
agree.
sure.
I agree. All right. Well, we're getting up against our time.
Yep.
So we are going to all get together in December, and whenever we get to summer, once August gets here, the year is kind of over, and so because it's only a matter, Christmas is around the corner almost, and so we have our year-ending class, and this year our year-ending class is also our 10-year anniversary for Large Loss Mastery. And I'm really excited to have you there, Greg. And we're going to get you in there. I'm not sure on which day yet, but I'll figure that out as we go.
Yeah.
But that is December 1st through the 4th, and it's here in Cape Canaveral, Florida. We always go out to Kennedy Space Center for this case study. And if you're more than welcome to come here for the entire class. If you want to set up an office in the back, you can do that, and stay for the entire event. We are going to be at Kennedy Space Center. We will be at Port Canaveral. We'll have our traditional steak and beers cookout by the pool with the chef. We'll probably have a little beach reception, and maybe some fireworks. I might have some hair back by then, or I might not. I don't know. I've gotten used to the hat. Like we were saying offline.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing when I got the haircut was putting a hat on, because it just felt so weird. It was just like, it was like something you could just feel like, it was weird. But I look forward to seeing both of you guys, and hopefully, anybody got anything else? Greg, you got anything you want to close with?
No, I just, Tom, I appreciate the invite. It's, it finally happened. I don't know how many times we've talked about it. But we're both busy, and I get that. What I really and truly, is close to my heart is the fact of what you've done for our industry over the years, and I've recognized it. I'm, being part of the
Thank
large
you.
loss. When I say part of it, being in participating early on, I'll be honest with you. I said, I wished I'd have thought about this. I said, but he's the most qualified for it. So, you've done a great job in
Stop
doing
it.
that. You've done a great job in doing that. And that I'll support you 100% either way. So, but no, thank you for inviting me. I look forward to the December event. I really do. I think we're going to have a blast. By then we'll probably have some good war stories to tell anyway. So, but at the end of the day, thank you very much. TJ, I can't thank you enough for the conversation that you and I had in Panama City. It's been a pleasure to get to know you, and I look forward to you being a 10 plus client.
Yep, we need to set that up.
Yep. So definitely.
All right, guys. Well, we'll probably maybe in December, maybe we'll have a follow-up. And we can do a casual, maybe we'll do something out at Kennedy Space Center. Greg, if you're going to hang out with us for the whole
I'll
day,
be there.
I'll
be there.
Maybe we'll do something
Absolutely.
out at Kennedy Space Center and have a couple of cervezas and talk about stuff. And but it has been a pleasure, my friends. And I wish I could have been there with you guys in Panama City last week, but we had to deal with a little cancer, and
I get it, man.
And
you made the right decision. You made the right decision. I can tell you.
Yeah, it's always more important.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
she's doing good. She's doing good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We had your back, though. I can tell you that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I do appreciate that, and I appreciate all the good words and everything, all the support that over the years too, Greg. It's been awesome, and I can't wait to see you in December. I'll probably see you before then, but I'm not sure if I've kind of cleared my summer schedule out a little bit, and so that I'm freed up to kind of do whatever. And so, but let's stay in touch. And
Absolutely.
Thank you guys very much.
Well, I certainly appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Have a good week, guys.
All right.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Conversations on the Edge with Tom and TJ. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like what you hear, leave us a review. Join us next time for another Conversation on the Edge.